Right, so good evening. We are going to look, it's a one-off one tonight, not a series. So we break with it. Last week was a one-off one. Do you remember last week's? Make your requests in prayer with
joy.
Have we been making joyful requests this week?
Yeah.
So we've got two little scriptures tonight that we're going to look at. One, they like verses. We're going to look at the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. The heading tonight, if you wanted a heading, extremes. Extremes. Proverbs 14, verse 29. And those of you that got a hard copy, I'll give you the next one as well. But those of you that got a phone, I'll have to say it again, won't I? Because you can't put the two in. This is one of the advantages of going paper. So Proverbs 14:29 and Ecclesiastes 7, verses 16 to 18. And we're just going to have a little thought. We've been thinking about it. And probably had personal discussions as well, but it's something that I've shared and thought of in my own life, and I think hopefully, you know, we're all mature enough of a certain understanding that, you know, we probably wouldn't say that we are probably full of extremes, but there are reasons why we should avoid them. Yeah, we've got to avoid extremes. So in the Bible, if you like, extreme, it doesn't have a single fixed definition. If you went to look it up and look for the word extreme in any of the Bible accounts or whatever, you probably wouldn't find that particular word. Okay. However, the concept frequently appears in the context of excessive behavior. We talked a little bit about that, isn't it, when we did our vices and virtues. Excessive behavior, intense experiences, or reaching the limits of a situation. Extremes. You can be in so many extremes, isn't it? You ever feel life is so full on sometimes, you just feel you've got to the end of it all. You're at your wit's end, you're at an extreme, you can't do anymore. It's just like, whoa. And sometimes that's how our lives can feel like. It's like as if everything is just too much. It often highlights the dangers of going too far. Yeah? How many times do we go too far? We just like, whether in righteousness, I'll put this one down as well, in wickedness, or emotional displays. Yeah? Hopefully it'll make a bit more sense than when we look at these two verses. Proverbs 14, verse 29. This is the first one I'm going to look at tonight. So technically we've only got 2 points tonight, but you know what a point can be with me? A long time. Proverbs 14:29, people with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness. People with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness. A nasty and quick temper can be like a fire out of control, burning us and everyone in its path. Yeah, James himself, when we did our studies on James, it talked about the tongue and the taming of the tongue, and often it gave the example of a fire, isn't it? It just goes out of control, isn't it? And a fire can just happen so small, so insignificant, but all of a sudden, once it takes off, it's like, whoa. And sometimes people can be like that with, you know, they've got to say something or lose it. Anger divides people. It pushes us into hasty decisions that only cause bitterness and guilt. And yet, anger in itself is not wrong, is it? Yeah? The Bible actually teaches us this as well. It says, in your anger, do not sin. So there is an anger that we can have. All of us can have an anger, and this is it. Anger can be a legitimate reaction to injustice and sin. I think a lot of us would feel if you see something wrong, you do feel a bit, whoa. And if you feel you can do something about it, you'd want to, isn't it? You want to sort it out. So often we get angry about things, and sometimes it's like as if we get angry about the news or something, but in many ways perhaps we can't do anything on a big scale. Yeah? But you know, there are certain situations that perhaps we could, when we get angry, when something is wrong, when someone has been treated unfairly and stuff, like, do you mean? So anger can be a legitimate reaction to injustice and sin. When we feel ourselves getting angry, look for the cause. This is the important thing. You've got to look for the cause. If you get angry about something, do you just think it's fine, I'm angry, so look out, you know, because some people are like, aren't they? Look out, I'm coming, you know, don't be like that. Don't be like that, you know. Any Marvel fans here? What's the Hulk? What's his line when they say about it?
Don't make me angry.
Don't make me angry.
You won't like me when I'm angry.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Is that what the Hulk says? It's not the Hulk.
The original Hulk boss said that.
Never. Did he?
David Banner.
David Banner. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Well then. I was on about the Marvel one. Sorry. See, I'm the babe in the bunch tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But he says in the Hulk one, didn't he? He says he's always angry. That's what he was saying. You know that? Andrew's thinking about it now. He's thinking between Anne and the Jackal. But he's thinking which one. So here's the point. When we feel ourselves getting angry, look for the cause. Are we reacting to an evil situation that we are going to set right? Okay? Or are we responding selfishly to a personal insult?
Yeah.
Think about that. So are we reacting to an evil situation that we are going to set right? Or are we responding selfishly to a personal insult? Anger, the emotion of anger will rise on both of these, but only one of them is right. If we respond out of the personal insult bit and get angry about that, we probably get things wrong. And here's the important thing, we need to pray that God will help us to control a quick temper, channeling our feelings into effective action and conquering selfish anger through humility and repentance. So that's like one example in this scripture tonight. People with understanding control their anger, but a hot temper shows great foolishness. And like I said, it's so important. Like sometimes you Christians say, oh, it's a righteous anger. But sometimes we just get angry because we don't like something. It's not necessarily a kingdom thing. It's us. And we have got to be, because so many people, when we talk about the kingdom, we've also got to always keep in our mind a balance of unity. So it's not unity for anything. It's not unity and anything goes. But sometimes so many people are quick to say something and you think, why did you have to say something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why? And oftentimes it's because of a lack of control. Not necessarily because what they're saying is right. Don't get me wrong. And I've got a few examples at the end of extremes. I've got a few examples to finish off. And then we can discuss them later over a nice cup of tea. Or not. Because you're like, once the sermon's over, that's the end. Until the week when I look at them and review it. Okay, so that's that one. Proverbs 14:29. People with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness. And how many times, if we're honest, if we have held our tongue, if we have held our anger back, not to be false, but just to actually have control over a situation. So important. Okay, Ecclesiastes 7, verse 16 to 18. And just keep this in mind with the whole thing of extremes. Okay, Ecclesiastes 7, verse 16 to 18. So don't be too good or too wise. Why destroy yourself? On the other hand, don't be too wicked either. Don't be a fool. Why die before your time? Pay attention to these instructions, for anyone who fears God will avoid both extremes. How can a person, think about this, how can a person be too good or too wise? This is a warning against pride, legalism, or false righteousness. Solomon was saying that some people became so good or wise in their own eyes that they became deluded by their own religious acts. Tonight when we take communion and when we come together like this, we are all on the same level, aren't we? There's no hierarchy with us. This is what messes the world up, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But before God, we're all sinners, but we are saved by His amazing grace. Not one thing we do can actually gain us access because a price had to be paid. That is the foundation and the crux really of the Christian faith. It's not difficult. In fact, it's open for everyone. But that is the reality. But how many times sometimes do all of a sudden then we start living the Christian life, we start working it out, we start walking it, and then we start to try and compete. Oh, I'm doing more than so-and-so. Them guys over there, they haven't got a clue. These are working flat out. Like, what happens if our work night became, oh, look, there was just spraying the windows. I'm on my knees by her, like, you know, only an example. And I'll be there, and I can't even believe that bucket costs at least £89 of my budget, like, do you mean? Just to get a bucket in this place. And before you know it, you throw things like that out, and everyone starts competing, and it's like, well, I've trimmed more weeds than you. It's like, I guarantee we wouldn't have the same kind of night. You all had your food at the end. And it was lovely as well, wasn't it?
It was.
Very nice. Even Robert, how did Robert turn up? Oh, we're on camera. Where did Robert turn up from? He's never here. Right, scrap that bit. Sorry, Robert, does he view? Sorry, I get myself in trouble, I tell him. It's come out now. I have to say, Lord, I'm sorry. I was very gracious when he strolled in, and the guy was there. I was like, oh, right.
Sent him down.
I just placed the order. I was like, oh, go on then. Go on. You can do it. It's a warning against pride, against legalism or false righteousness. Sorry, Rob. It's the other Rob I meant. Solomon was saying that some people became so good or wise in their own eyes that they became deluded by their own religious acts. They are so rigid. Oh, shoot. There's always one in it. They are so rigid or narrow in their views that they lose their sensitivity to the true reason for being good, and that is to honour God. Yeah? You hear me sometimes say about it, I just say in years gone by, sometimes if you had a view, if you only talk about God's judgment is real. I'm not ever going to say there isn't any, and God forbid I can't. There is a judgment. You look at the Old Testament, you look at life. There are consequences that sin brings. So you're not going to hear me say that there isn't any, but I will never ever just emphasize that without the love of God. Why? Yeah. Because I know the environment, because all of a sudden it's so easy to pick on everything we do wrong. And you just look at each other. You come to church, look at them by her now, they're singing by her, but look at them in the week, they went there, they did this. Where does that come from? That doesn't come from a loving, caring family. That comes from a judgmental attitude that we're a bit, oh. Yeah. And that is something that the Lord wants us not to. In this verse, in one of those verses, it says, pay attention, in verse 18, pay attention to these instructions. For anyone who fears God will avoid both extremes. You see, if we take to an extreme anything, we'll be out of balance. Yeah. That is really the point. Balance is so important in our lives. Do you know what I mean? There are times, you see, we've got to push ourselves more. But there are times we've got to rest more. Yeah. There are times we should do some more, but there are also times that we need to do less. Oof. You try and say that to someone who's driving you all the time. Huh? Mm-hmm. Someone who is driven, oh, we've got to do more, But we have to get a balance. You know your bodies. We all know them, innit? There's not one of us here is getting younger. Except for Rob tonight, who's looking younger. Is that right? Because if he's had something from Costco, I don't know what he's had. So I thought it was the noodles, but obviously I don't think that's work on me. Mm-hmm. Some people are so rigid or narrow in their views that they lose their sensitivity to the true reason for being good, and that is to honour God. That should be our purpose. I want to be good, not because I want to be good so I can lord it over Andrew, or say, look at me, Ant. And look at you. The example. I'm going to offend everyone tonight. Do you know what I mean? You know, some people in a conversation with them, I just say it the other way, when you ask some people how they are, and you perhaps are going through the worst thing in your life, you ask them how you are, just out of courtesy or respect. I'm wise now. Certain people, I don't ask that. I word it a different way. So if I don't ask you outright how you are, you're one of those people. How you want? No, we're all right. Balance is important. God created us to be whole people who seek his righteousness and his goodness. Yeah? The more good works, the more good deeds that are done on this earth, the better the world will be.
Yeah.
Okay? But that won't gain you access to God on its own. But you see, this is what happens in the church, you can't win. So if you have people who are doing good all the time, giving their time, their money, their efforts and everything else, all we do is then, but they don't know Jesus. And they're like, I don't get this, But sometimes then they only see in us that it's all about going to church, or it's all about doing this, and it's all about doing that. So they look at us and think, what are these people on? Do you know what I mean? They think, well, I don't get it. And somehow the balance is we do the things we do because we love him so much for what he's done. And we have to always keep that balance. So here's a couple of examples. I told you tonight's going to be a short one. I'm doing it shorter so you can have more time to do the menu. I've written down here a couple of extremes. An extreme of saying yes to everything. So some of you look at me, but let me counteract this. Or no to everything. If you say yes to everything, I'm going to probably say you're out of balance. But I want to say this. If you say no to everything, so you are as well. So somehow, we've got to learn. So my view is this. I will say yes to everything I can do, unless I can't do it. Simple as. And if I say no, if my default is no, I've got to ask myself why. Sometimes, if we want to do something, I remember going to some church meetings, and this happened to be an older thing, so we have to watch this when we get older. Because if it was to try, like sometimes, I want you to understand this, when you see some of the younger people and some of the in the churches and they're full of energy and that, we must not quench that enthusiasm. Please, let us not quench it. They may need a bit of wisdom, but that's where we come in. But with some, I can remember going to certain meetings and they was like, right, shall we put an event on? Let's do a joint event in the park. And the answer really was no. But you know why it was no? Because it was extra hassle. It was extra work. But sometimes, if we never try to reach out, then we'll never reach out. You know that, isn't it?
That's right.
We could do the thing, so I'm not going to drive you, but if we want to do something, there are times that we are going to have to do certain things extra to what we do. We do these things, sure, but we need to do other stuff as well. And you know what you need when you're doing that? Willingness, teamwork, togetherness, everything. So someone will ring the council, someone will do this, someone will sort this out, someone will be the parking attendant. Whatever we're going to do, we've got to do that together because that's so important. And some people would just automatically, it's easier to say no. Do you know why? Because it means they haven't got to do anything. That, I think, is what we've got to question, because it's like, no. Sometimes we need to do those things, whatever it is. So that is one. So if you're a yes person, saying yes, don't say yes to everything. But don't say no to everything either. Use another one. An extreme of never asking for help. How many of you are like that tonight? Who will never ask for help? No, I'm fine, I'll do it myself. As you're juggling everything going. Do you know what I mean? I'm fine. As your arms are breaking, you can't cope anymore. But here's another one. Here's the other extreme of that. Always asking for help. Do you know that? They're always asking. It's like, I can't do this myself. No, I need some help. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, come on. You know what I mean? Come on. Let's get it right, isn't it, So there's a couple. One more. Right. Oh, I like this one. An extreme of always being serious. How many serious people we got tonight? And here's the other extreme. Always joking around. Do you know what I mean? So, see, you're all looking at me. I don't know how to take this tonight. We should have a poll. Right, all the serious ones over here, all the jokers over here. And see if there's anyone in the middle ground. What I'm saying is, you see, you've got to have a balance, haven't you? You see, if you're too serious, it's a bit like, I wanted to say last week, sometimes you go to prayer meetings, isn't it? And people are everywhere, they're all around the world, and by the time you finish a prayer meeting, you're just depressed. You're not like, oh, my life, that was fantastic. It's like, oh my gosh, if I set the news on, I wouldn't be that bad, because that would only probably last an half hour. But I've just been in an hour's prayer meeting, gone around everything, and we've just told God how bad the world is. Now, the world is bad, isn't it? The world is bad. But let's be honest, tonight, in this hour or so, it's not that bad, is it? Apart from the fact you've got to listen to me. But apart from that, we are together, worshipping, thanking God and being together like this. So life isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Our aim at 3D is to be a balanced group of believers who love the Lord and love people.
Yeah.
Simple. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So that's our aim here, to be a balanced group of believers who love the Lord and love people. Now that doesn't mean to say we've got to have the same number of people on this side or that side. Okay? I don't mean that kind of balance, because we're slightly out at the moment. Okay? But what I mean is, that we are so balanced that we are together. I say this, I think I said it earlier. If we put something on, I never worry about you. I don't worry about the way people will be if they come in here. Are they going to be welcomed? Are we going to be like, I don't worry. I don't worry about that. You know why? Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And I want us in everything we do to be a balanced group of people. It's a bit like, say, the money. In some churches, you'll have to have an hour sermon before you do the offering or tithes, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? And if you don't give, pity help you, like, isn't it, and then they'll take it around again. I mean, in here, it's just there. And somehow, every week, people are counting money. And I'm like, why? And I won't tell you too much, but the bank balance is looking pretty good as well. And that isn't from one time that we've had to ask. So people do it. Now that, to me, shows that people love the Lord.
Yeah.
And they love coming together and they love what we do in here. So, all of a sudden now you'll be thinking, how much we got? Speak to Debbie or Terry. Well, you can ask Terry, but she'll probably say, I haven't got a clue. So...
Actually, I do know.
Oh, she does know. She knows.
Because the fish and chip days,
Oh, yes. I did have to apologise last week because I announced it that the church was praying and I hadn't sounded out the main people. But they haven't said no. Hopefully they'll reimburse me. So let me encourage you tonight. Our aim at 3D is to be a balanced group of believers who love the Lord and love people. Let's just bring our extremes in. Yeah. That's all. As long as we keep the balance, we keep God first. He has to be our priority and the reason we do it. But out of that, we love each other and we love people.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.